Hello, good evening to all of you. So I'm really excited to start this BioEdge series. I'm all the more excited because it is not just one-off event. It is not one-off seminar. It is going to be a series of seminars. And the added interest, added excitement is that it is not only about biotechnology, it is all about the science, skills, and your success. So that is exciting me all the more to interact with you. So thank you very much for joining this seminar today evening. So what we are going to do is we are going to kickstart this seminar series with a very broad overview of what are the segments in biotechnology and what are the trends in biotech sector, what is happening around, and what are the opportunities in these sectors in terms of jobs, in terms of employment and all that. So this is what we are going to do in terms of today's webinar. So the format, how I would like to keep this is first we'll go through the slides. I don't have much of slides. I have 4 to 5 slides, and after going through the slides, we'll keep about 10 minutes for question and answers, which means that say about 40-45 minutes. I'll take you through the presentation, and then 10 minutes we'll keep for the question and answers. That is how the format will be. And when it comes to the question and answers, you have to type your questions in the chat. And by end of the session, we'll go through one by one and we'll answer these chats as much as possible. And this entire webinar series is not going to be done only by me. It is also going to be done by Susan Alexander. She is the senior learning consultant at Biocon Academy, and she is the soft skills trainer and a very, very successful soft skills trainer. She has been transforming so many people in their communication skills at Biocon Academy. So it is going to be a combination of science and skills for your success. That is what the BioEdge series is all about. All right. So with that few note on introduction to this series, I would like to start this conversation with a question. I know that we cannot interact, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of reflect on what are the general thoughts around the concepts what I'm talking about. Okay. So hope you are seeing the orchestra. The orchestra is a very, very interesting design, right? The reason why orchestra is very interesting design is because every single participant who is participating in the orchestra, when I say participating in the performing side, I'm not talking about the audience. I'm talking about even audience are encouraging, but from the performing side, whomsoever is participating, if you carefully see this picture, there are people who are singing, there are people who are playing flute. There are people who are playing trumpet. There are people who are playing violin. There are people who are playing drums, right? So to be a part of such a prestigious orchestra, if you can see the way it is arranged, I'm sure all of you can understand, all of you can imagine that how skillful each person has to be. The person who is playing the drums should be expert in playing drums. The person who is singing the song should be expert in singing the song. The person who is playing the flute should be an expert. The person who is playing the trumpet, the violin, uh, guitar, whatever, each individual should be an expert, right? The question here is, does this expert play individually in the orchestra, or is there a meaningful symphony that will come out if these players play it individually? What if the drummer is doing individually? What if the flutist does it individually? A violinist doing it individually, a guitarist doing individually, a singer does it individually. Does it create a meaningful symphony? I'm sure you all agree with me that it won't create a meaningful symphony. There is a person who is standing in the front, if you see, with both the hands raised. This person is called as a conductor. This conductor knows exactly how to mix each of it. This conductor exactly knows how to mix each of these sounds to create a meaningful symphony. I would like you to imagine that this conductor is the biotech industry. This biotech industry knows exactly how to put all these individual talents together to create a meaningful symphony, a meaningful product that solves some of the healthcare issues. Now, we will see who are these individual people. The singers, for example, the violinist, for example, these are all the individual subjects. For example, it can be immunology, it can be recombinant technology, it can be virology, it can be in general, it can be microbiology, it can be biochemistry. So one could be a virologist or a microbiologist, one could be a immunologist, one could be a biotechnologist, one could be a biochemist, and so on and so forth. So the biotech industry who is standing in front of you is ready to use your talent, is ready to utilize your talent to create a very meaningful symphony in this industry, which is called as a meaningful product. If anyone has kept your mic open, could you please mute yourself? Okay, thank you. So, the first and foremost take home message I would like to give away is that biotechnology is a multidisciplinary subject. In fact, it is not an independent science, it is a faculty. Biotechnology is a faculty. This faculty is highly multidisciplinary as well as it is extremely interdisciplinary, right? Multidisciplinary is because lot of independent sciences are involved, and interdisciplinary is because these individual subjects has to work together to produce a product of meaningful interest. That is exactly what biotechnology is. With this note, I would like you to approach the biotech industry. So, understanding or studying independent science is not the only factor that is going to allow anyone to become eligible to be a employee in biotech industry. It is the interdisciplinary factor, understanding how these subjects intervene among themselves. That understanding is what is going to take you closer to the industry, because that is what industry needs. So that being said, I would like to kind of give a large picture on what are the sectors and what is the market trend as far as biotechnology sector is concerned. First, we will see the global sector. As you can see in the global sector, the major contribution, I'm not going into the number part because most of us are averse of numbers. That is why we have chosen biology as our domain. So I'm not getting into much of numbers. Later, I will certainly talk about few numbers also. But for a general understanding, as you can see here, the healthcare contributes to more than half of the revenue across the global biotechnology sector, followed by food and agriculture, natural resources and environment, industrial processing, bioinformatics, and other appliances or other applications. So this is the market composition and the market contribution. When I say market contribution, revenue contribution by each of these segments into the overall sector. Why we need to know about this global sector is because you will be really amused, you will be really surprised to see how the global market trend is exactly aligned to Indian market trend and other way around too, which means how Indian market trend is well aligned to the global market trend. As you can see here, biopharmaceutical, which is contributing to more than 50%. It is 62%. And next is food and agri. For us also 16% is agricultural biotechnology. As you can see, 15% is bioservices, and you have the bioindustrial. So bioindustrial is also contributing to some portion into the global market segment. So from biopharma perspective, from healthcare perspective, we are well aligned with the global market trend, which means that whatever happens globally is going to impact the Indian biotech sector. And to understand it from our perspective, whatever we are doing in India is going to affect or it is going to impact the global trend. This is the reason why we need to know this alignment between India and global. Now, in India, where is it happening? Because sometimes we think that the jobs for biotechnology students are not much available. We also need to know where is it happening in India? Because if it is happening everywhere, for example, if it is a IT, if it is a IT company, information technology company, it is not confined to one of the areas. It is spread across the country. Because it is spread across the country, the opportunities are very high. Proximity is very high there. When it comes to biotechnology, as you can see here, the majority of the portion, the majority of the biotech sector projects, biotech projects are happening in, as you can see here, in the other areas other than Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, and Haryana. As you can imagine, these are all states. These are all not cities. These are all not towns. In each of these state, if I take example of Karnataka, if I take example of Karnataka, it is not all across Karnataka the biotech projects are happening. It is happening in specific areas like Bangalore. In Bangalore also, it is in the special economic zones of Bangalore. This is the reason why the first and foremost thing we need to be very prepared in our mind to be successful in the biotech. If you want to set up your career in biotech industries, that you have to be ready to work anywhere in India to capture this opportunity of biotech sector available across the country. Moving on. What are these sectors? So now we have seen what is the major biotech segments, and in each segment, what is the revenue contribution and how the revenue contribution is aligned between the global and Indian scenario. And in Indian scenario, what are the states that are mainly contributing to the biotech revenue? Up to here, we have seen. Now we would like to go and understand what are these segments within biotech sector. Okay. Within biotech sector, these segments majorly contribute to four growth drivers. Okay. The growth drivers are the ones which are propelling the growth of the biotech sector in the Indian scenario as well as from the global point of view. For example, the global position. As I told you, why whatever happens in India is going to affect global, because India is among the 12 top 12 biotechnology destination in the world. Okay, this country is holding 3% of global biotech industry pie, which is very, very high, right? Country is also the world's largest, third largest producer of recombinant vaccines. We have a very, very strong startup ecosystem. This Indian startup ecosystem today is going to develop as a large scale manufacturing sectors in the future. So this promises the opportunity. Very strong growth in the biopharmaceuticals. When I say biotechnology, as you can imagine, there are two major segments. One is the biologics, other one is the biopharmaceuticals, which comprises of the recombinant therapeutic proteins. In the next slide, we'll get into details, which is 58%, which is really very high. The biopharmaceutical alone is 58% of the overall biotech market. Okay. National Biopharma Mission is taking this industry academia mission very seriously to accelerate biopharmaceutical development in India. This sentence is very important for every one of us who is, or every one of you, if you are a student in biotechnology or any biological sciences. if you want to know what government is doing for you to become industry ready, one of the example, the Prime Minister internship, or it could be the NAPS program, National Apprentice Promotion Scheme program, NAPS program. These are some of the country-wide program which are offering internship opportunities in biotech industry by the government, which means government is paying stipend for you to go through this internship. And if you do well, the industry won't mind or won't hesitate to take you as a regular employee. So that is the importance of National Biopharma Mission launched, and it is taking the industry academia mission very seriously. For clinical trials, particularly in bioservices, 15% accounts for the clinical trials, that is bioservices. Bioservices includes the clinical trials that are being conducted, which is coming under contract research organizations, CROs. I'll tell you in the next slide some of the examples, okay, which is also a very important sector in the biotech segment. Okay, so the biotechnology segment. Now we'll quickly run through a broad overview of what are all the segments that are available under biotechnology as a sector. Number one, biopharma. Biopharma accounts to $39.4 billion valuation in terms of revenue. What are the components of biopharma? We'll see one by one. But before that, we'll quickly see what are the 5 major domains: biopharma, bioservices, bioagriculture, bioindustrial, and bioinformatics. These are the major 5 sub-segments of biotech sector. Okay, I have given you the individual revenue contribution also, so that you can understand which sector is contributing more and less. But at the same time, it is about the opportunity that is available in each of the sector. Now we will go into subsector and some examples of companies also I'll tell you. If you want, you can make a note so that when you are doing the job search, it becomes very easy for you. Biopharma. The first one, therapeutics. When I say biopharma therapeutics, we are talking about recombinant therapeutic proteins. Recombinant therapeutic proteins includes the biopharmaceutical proteins like monoclonal antibodies or erythropoietins, insulins, your interferon alpha, GCSF, EGFR, all these comes under therapeutic proteins. So some of the major players include Biocon Limited, Biocon Biologics Limited, and you have Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Serum Institute of India. So if you carefully see, if I have taken 3 names now, Biocon Limited and Biocon Biologics, Biocon group of companies 1, Dr. Reddy's, number 3, Serum Institute. Within these 3, you can see these 3 are not in the same state. One is in Bangalore, one is in Hyderabad, one is in Pune, right? Which means that if you are sitting in Tamil Nadu and listening to this session, you could imagine that you are not going to search job confined to companies within Tamil Nadu, because biotech companies are not there in your vicinity. It is there in different places. So that's the example of recombinant therapeutic proteins. Then vaccines. Now I don't have to tell you the importance of vaccines, right? After COVID, everybody understood the importance of vaccines. I'm not talking only about COVID vaccine. In general, everybody understood how important to be vaccinated. Because earlier, when we get our children vaccinated also, we don't care what is being injected. We know it is polio vaccine or DPT or HB or Hib B or HP. So this is the only information we have. Now we know how important the vaccination is. Vaccine companies, for example, like, something like Serum Institute of India, or it could be Hafkins, or it could be Shanta, Sanofi Shanta, Bharat Biotech, Indian Immunologicals. So these are some examples of large vaccine manufacturers. I'm not telling you the entire list. I'm just giving random examples for you to just understand how large these opportunities are. Then you have diagnostics. Again, After vaccines, after COVID, we all understood how important the diagnostic kits are. Before 2019, if I would have told you RT-PCR, I don't think much of more of many of you wouldn't have given much importance to that. Now, if I say RT-PCR, everybody knows RT-PCR, right? It's a diagnostic tool to diagnose presence of COVID virus antigen in your blood. So basically, diagnostic kits are very, very important. Through COVID, we learned it in a hard way, but before COVID also, we had plague, we have influenza infestation and so on. But over a period of time, we understood how important these diagnostic kits and diagnostic kit manufacturers are. For example, it can be Roche, it can be uh, J-Mitra, or it can be Span Diagnostics. There are so many diagnostic companies who are making these diagnostic kits, who are employing biotechnology students across the year. Then you have bioservices. This is what the second segment in the growth driver we were talking about.
Microsoft terms less open.
Uh, may I request those who are keeping the microphone open to be muted? Thank you very much. Contract research organizations. The contract research organizations are the one who are conducting clinical trials in India on behalf of other countries. Sometimes they do clinical research, sometimes they do clinical data management, which means that the clinical research is happening elsewhere, but the data is managed by the Indian company. So both are happening. And there are so many examples for hardcore CROs, like, for example, it could be Syngene, where we are doing CRAMS model as well as CRO model. It could be earlier it was called as Quintiles. Now after IMS amalgamation, it is called as IQVIA. So these are large organizations who are into CRO. Then came one intermediate, which is called as CMO. Later it became CRAMS, contract manufacturing organizations. Later they became very smart and taking up the contract research also in their scope. For example, it is called as contract research and manufacturing solutions, CRAMS model. So there are a lot of organizations who are doing these type of models also. BioAgri, I don't have to explain you as a separate segment, because it is just a reinvention of the wheel. Our grandparents knew very well how to create a blue-green pond. Right now we are doing it much in a larger scale, but technology remains the same. So only difference is that at that time they did not know much about hybrid seeds and genetically modified organisms, but because of the advancements in biotechnology, we are talking about hybrid seeds and um, genetically modified organisms. There are a lot of companies like Bayer or Rasi Seeds, or so many companies are putting up a lot of investments in these particular types of work in the segment. Then you have biopesticide and biofertilizers. So anywhere, if you see any waste, generally the companies who are putting in a lot of efforts to bring this waste to the plant and convert it to biopesticide or biofertilizer. For example, let's say molasses or bagasse, sugarcane bagasse. The sugarcane bagasse is one of the very easily available byproduct, which is a waste from a sugar industry, which can be easily used as a medium for the biofertilizer production. Then you have industrial enzymes. For example, it could be Novozymes. Now it is called as NovoNSS. So companies like that, and as if you know the history of Biocon, Biocon started with industrial enzymes and some of the other industrial products. For example, now one of the largest industrial bioindustrial company or bioindustrial segment that I can take an example is Reliance. Reliance has put a 3,000 acres open pond in the Jamnagar, Gujarat. which is they are doing the single cell algae production for beta carotenoids and biohydrogen production. So it's a huge opportunity. You can imagine who else other than BTech Biotechnology can manage a algal pond, open pond without contamination. So it's big opportunity, which is in Gujarat. And then came the bioinformatics, right? The biofuels, I already spoke about it, and then we come to bioinformatics. Bioinformatics plays a very, very important role in shrinking the overall time that is taken for the discovery. Initially, it was only the database services and integrated app approaches. For example, it could be the bioinformatics tools and so on. But now it has moved all the way into biotech software services, which means people like Siemens or people like Microsoft or people like Agilents or these people are taking biotechnology engineers and train them in coding so that they understand the exact application of what the database they are generating, the software what they are generating, which can be operational in some of the equipments. Okay, now we'll pause here as far as the segments are concerned. So what we have done is so far, first we have seen what biotechnology is all about as a science, as a faculty. Second, we have seen what are the segments in biotechnology or sectors in biotechnology and what is their growth pattern, both globally and locally. When I say locally, India, and within India, what are the areas in which major projects are happening. And then we went all the way to understand what are all the opportunities that are available in the biotech sector within the sub-segments or sub-sectors: biopharma, bioservices, bioagri, bioindustrial, and bioinformatics. Now we'll go to the last segment. The last segment are the opportunities. So I'll skip the first portion of this and come to the opportunities part directly, because what we need to understand is that if these sectors, when I say sectors, the sectors are successful because each sector is representing a group of companies, right? For example, when I say biopharma, biotherapeutics, it comprises of Biocon, Intas Biopharma, Dr. Reddy's, and Serum, and so on, right? So it is comprising of so many companies. These companies have specific requirements for biotechnology students and bioscience students. When I say bioscience, it may be microbiology, or it can be biochemistry, or it could be pharmacy, and so on. Because all of these industries or all of these companies who are comprised with these industries have a common thing, which are the departments in the industries. When I say departments into the industries, I'm going to talk about the core industries, the core ones. Okay, the core ones are the production, quality control analytical, quality control microbiology, quality assurance, regulatory affairs, research and development. These are the departments. Now, if you are wondering, these are familiar to you. These are the departments that are familiar to you. Now, what we need to do is that you are studying a subject. There is a department. These department need people with certain skills. So when I use the term skills, I would like to make a very candid statement here. The entire industry is moving from science-based hiring or knowledge-based hiring to skill-based hiring. This is very, very important for all of us to understand. Because earlier there was a time when if it's a knowledgeable person, they will get a job. Then they will get trained to do the skillful activities. Now the industry is in a growing phase. Because it is the growing phase, they don't want to spend, industry doesn't want to spend too much of time in creating skill set based on the knowledge. Instead, they are finding out whether the skilled people are directly available from the market. This is the reason why we need to understand what is the alignment between the requirement by the industry, which is the department, and what is the skill set you have. That becomes the opportunity for you. This understanding becomes the opportunity for you. Now, if you are a BTech biotechnology student or a MSc biotechnology student, MSc microbiology, biochemistry, or any of the segment, if you are a agriculture student or anything, right? If you are a student who is holding a graduate or postgraduate degree, and if you are looking for production job, right? If you're looking for production job, what is the main thing you are going to focus? You have to focus whether you have the skill of following instructions and orient yourself to the process, keeping the knowledge what you have from your graduation and post graduation. I repeat, in the graduation or post graduation, you might have studied fermentation as a subject, cell culture as a subject, chromatography as a subject. These are the subjects. These are the basic scientific principles what you have studied, right? Now you have to align whether I will able to translate the fermentation knowledge based on what is written in the instruction so that I can obtain or I can create one particular batch which will yield X amount of medicine. Which means I am not worried about X amount of medicine to be produced. I am worried about what is the process that should be conducted. Which means if you are a instruction following person and process oriented person with the backup of degree or post graduation where you have studied about these basic principles that are required for this role, then you are aligned to production role, which means this opportunity is available for you. I'll tell you how to approach the employment in the later segments. But today, I would like to kind of introduce this concept of how to align your degree, your skill set to industry's requirement. If you are a MSc chemistry person, MSc biochemistry person, or pharmacy in pharmaceutical analysis, and something like that, then you have a analytical skill set. You know about analytical principles. You know what is partition coefficient. You know what is paper chromatography, thin layer chromatography, column chromatography, and so on. You know that, right? You have to find out whether you have the analytical mindset. It should not so happen that you have the knowledge, but your mindset is not analytical. You are not analytical oriented. Okay? If that case, then QC is not your domain. What you have to do is, if you have to find out as a person, are you analytical person? Are you analyzing everything in front of you? You don't have to think and find out by yourself. Sometime, some point in time, your parents or your siblings would have told you, please stop analyzing things. If you have got that comment, which means that you have that in you. Now align that trait with your knowledge and skills, what you have got from your degree or the post graduation, and align it to the quality control analytical department of industry. It can be any industry, any box in the top portion. This is how you will approach how to find a job for you. Third, if you are a microbiologist or you have studied microbiology as any semester paper or whatever it is, and if you know how to use microorganisms, when I say use, utilize microorganism as an expression system, or how to produce microorganism to use it in a better way. For example, it can be a probiotic, it can be a vaccine or whatever, right? So how to use the organisms, number one. Number two, how to get rid of them. When I say how to get rid of them, all of you know very well that all microorganisms are not safe. There are unsafe microorganisms, we call it as contaminants, pathogens, whatever, right? So you need to understand how to get rid of, or if you know how to get rid of these organisms by different methods. It could be autoclaving, sanitization, and so on and so forth, right? So if you have this knowledge and you know how to use and get rid of it, and then you are orienting yourself to quality control microbiology department in pharma or biopharma industry or any of the segment in this industry. For example, if you are working on biopesticides, you need to exactly know Vivaria bassiana, how it works, or it could be Bacillus thuringiensis, how to grow the Bacillus thuringiensis, right? If you are working in biopesticides, right? And if you are in biofertilizer, you should exactly know how to grow cyanobacteria, right? So these are some of the examples how you will align your science and the requirement by the industry. When it comes to quality assurance, the skill set is called as TPP skills, which means technical people presenting skills, which means you need to have domain skills, technical skills, which means you should know about pharma industry, biopharma industry, and so on. You should know the presenting skills. When I say presenting skills, I'm not talking about PowerPoint presentation skills. I'm not even talking about presentation skills with slides. I'm talking about how will you present your idea to others. That presenting I'm talking about. How convincingly you are going to present your ideas to others. That presenting skill you should have. And third, very importantly, people skill. How efficiently you are going to get things done by others. When I say this sentence, by now you would have gone into the contradiction of the mind. Should I do it or should I get it done? Normally, your mind will say, please do it by yourself so that you have the control over it. But unfortunately, when it comes to quality assurance department, your job role is to get things done by others the way it is written in the SOP, which means you should have the science background, which is the technical background. You should have the skill how to present your ideas, and you should have such an interpersonal skill that people will understand why you are presenting this to them, and they will act according to that. That's the TPP skills. That is about quality assurance. If you are a voracious reader, right, and when you are reading, you have an eye to spot the errors. I'm not talking about all the teachers here. Okay? The teachers has the inherent ability to spot errors. So how they do that is by the practice. So same is what we have to do now. As a student, if you are really good at documentation, reading, creating documentation, and without much of errors or without having errors, if you have eye for errors, you have a sensitivity for errors. When I say errors, I'm not talking about making a spelling mistake. I'm talking about error as writing a sentence in such a way that it does not elicit other question on it. That itself is called as avoiding an error. Right? That extent, if you are there, then you are ready for regulatory affairs with domain knowledge. You should know what are the regulatory agencies, what are the regulatory, um, regulatory framework for each of the country, and so on and so forth. If you are a person who are innovative in nature, if you are a person who will do 100 different things and keep failing without any problem of failing, which means you don't have a fear of failure, then and if you have a strong domain knowledge, then you can start thinking that you are aligned to research and development. Because research and development is all about innovation, meaningful innovation, sustainable innovation, affordable innovation, without having a fear of failure, so that each time when you're doing an experiment, it is a data point for you to validate how the process will not fail. That is what industry is expecting from you. Now, if you, in total, if you see this slide, you have biotechnology sector, within which you have biotechnology segments, within which you have sub-segments. In each sub-segment, you have companies. In each company, you have departments. In each department, there are employees who are aligning to all these requirements, which means you want to become one among them. This is how you should understand the opportunities in front of you. If you understand it this way, holistically, it becomes very easy for you to tune your mind in different ways, tune your CVs in different ways when you are applying for a job. You will never do this mistake of sending your CV to hr@company.com and waiting for a reply, because it's a very global act. Nobody is going to really look into it, right? So in the next sessions, I would like to spend a little more time in terms of how to approach the employment. All right. Before closing this session, what I would like to do is I would like to give a very broad overview of what is the skill composition, so that this becomes a lead for my colleague, Susan Alexander, who is going to talk about the toolkits, skill toolkits in the next coming sessions. When I say skill composition, I would like you to pay attention to the term composition. I'm not saying skills required. We are talking about skill composition required, which means it is a combination of multiple types of skills you need. It is not all about technical skills. For example, you need physical and manual skills. If you are wondering, am I going to do gym there or am I going to do weightlifting there? The answer is yes. You need to have at least that much physical agility to push a trolley which has a roller wheel. Okay, if you should be physically fit to move from one facility to another facility to take sample. That much amount of physical agility you need, which means physical and manual skills are very important. For the moment, don't pay attention to the percentage, but it is just an indication of out of the overall skill set, what is the percentage attribution, significance this particular skill set has. Cognitive ability, the basic cognitive ability. I'm not talking about, I'll talk about advanced cognitive ability later, but the basic cognition, why part of it. Whenever you are doing certain things, you should always ask this question, why am I doing this? Right? For example, even if I'm doing a mundane job, I should know why am I doing this. Day in and day out, I am doing chromatographic column analysis. Daily morning, I come, load the HPLC, take the chromatogram, analyze, keep it. Daily, I am doing this. For 5 years, I am doing this. Now, when you ask the question, why am I doing this? Then you will get the very fascinating answer. If I don't do this, I may miss an impurity. If I miss an impurity, that is going to go to a patient. This patient is none but you and me, your father, my father, your family, my family, your friends' family, my friend's family. Because the manufacturers and consumers gap is reducing. The gap between the manufacturers and consumers are reducing. When we are in this type of critical situation, we need to know why we are doing this. That type of basic cognitive ability we need to have. No compromise on technical skills, which means whatever you are studying in your grad and postgrad is important. Every class you are attending is important. To make it very interesting for you, whenever you are sitting in a class, find out, make notes of the principle. For example, if your teacher, if your lecturer is talking about bioluminescence, bacterial bioluminescence as a class, write down. Find out how the bacterial bioluminescence principle is used in pharma industry, biopharma industry, agriculture industry, and so on. Then you will understand that whatever you are learning in the class has a direct application in the real life industry, which means none of it is waste. So technical skills are extremely important. Then you need to have social and emotional skills. Very important. Because I would like you to remember one thing, that the individuality will diminish over a period of time when you start working in the industry, to the extent that somebody will not even know your name. After 1 year, they will call you as you are a production person, you are a quality person, you are a R&D person, which means you are a part of a large group. That's all. For you to get this clear in your mind, you need to have a strong emotional skill and connect it to the society. Whatever I'm doing now here in my company has a social impact. That type of social emotional skill one need to have. And a little bit advanced cognitive skills, like kind of emotional intelligence of what are my feelings doing to me, and how can I regulate my feelings, and how to regulate others' feelings if I can understand how others are feeling correctly, and so on. But it's little bit of a leadership work and managerial work. But the precursor should be there in the basic cognitive skill to reflect and understand why part of it, why people behave in certain way. That sensitivity is required at least 5% in the beginning stages. So these are all the skills that are required, which comes under a skill composition to be successful to start a career in pharma or biotech segment. I think with this we'll stop. this discussion, or as of now, so far it has been a monologue. I'll stop this presentation and quickly summarize what we have done. We have seen what is biotechnology, what are the trends in biotech sector, how the biotech sector globally and locally are aligned to each other, how job market is distributed across the country, what are the different segments, sub-segments, companies across the sector, biotech sector, and in each company, what are the technical departments and what are the skill set one need to have to be a part of this technical departments. And that is the opportunity we are talking about, right? So with this, I stop and I'm going to go into the chat for me to quickly see if there are any questions.
Hello.
Yes, please. Biplab, please type in your questions, please, because by default you will be muted. To avoid echoing, we'll follow this pattern of typing the questions. Okay. Good evening, sir. Does Biocon provide internship to the fresher? Absolutely, yes. There are two types of internship provided to the freshers. One is the student internship, other one is the work internship. Student internship is the part of internship which is a part of your curriculum. The work internship is after you have completed your grad or graduation or post graduation. So both type of internship Biocon is providing. Sir, are there any specific biotech sectors that prefer MSc integrated candidates? Oh, my. Not much differentiation between a MSc integrated and a MSc graduate, but when it comes to quality control, certainly it is looked at it as an additional opportunity because you have studied 5 years continuously the same science. So that's more of a additional opportunity rather than as a qualification. Okay. Even though we complete our masters in biochemistry, we can easily get job in biotech sector. 100% yes. That is exactly what the purpose of my whole talk is. You can get. Only thing you have to identify which department or departments in the biopharma sector is employing masters in biochemistry, and then align your trait and your skills and then create a resume which is fitting to that second portion we will discuss later. But to cut the long story short, yes, there is a possibility that you will get a job. Okay. The internship question answer remains the same, whether it is a life science students or B pharmacy students. Oh, yes, absolutely, yes. The antibiotics produced by fermentation. Yes, for example, let's say Ranbaxy, or it can be Cadilla, or it can be large companies. Like, I'm not getting the name of some of the larger antibiotic manufacturers. They all manufacture through the fermentation. So every biotechnology student certainly has a scope in this pharmaceutical industries, both directly and indirectly. When I say indirectly, there are companies who do biotransformation of the precursors. There also you have an opportunity. Sir, particular course to improve our technical skills in QA department. I don't want to give you a generalized answer, but a specific answer I can give you. Biocon Academy is having a separate course in quality control analytical. This quality control analytical is a combination of quality management system and analytical techniques in quality control. So which can be a very good precursor for you to start with if you're looking for quality assurance job. What would you recommend for students? Highlight on their CVs to stand out of biotechnology field. I cannot suggest you something to be added to your CV. You have to do it. You have to have it. For example, if you have a certification in, let us say, quality management system, which you have done along with your course, then it is an added advantage. So that can be a highlight, that can be highlighted if you are applying for quality control jobs. If you are applying for a regulatory affairs job also, it is good. If you're applying for a clinical research management, and if you're going to say, look, I have a certification in quality management system, may or may not be aligned to each other, right? So it depends on which sector or company you are applying for. Please provide any ideas about development of antibiotics. This is not a technical seminar, so I would like to park this question for some other interaction. May I know whom to contact in biotech internship opportunity, which just you have mentioned? HR, see, what you have to do is you cannot find the HR email ID directly, right? So what you have to do is you have to create a very strong LinkedIn profile and connect with the HR executives of the companies, and through which you can message and understand if there is an internship opportunity. That's the easier and more effective way to get into internship opportunities. Also, kindly let us know how can we tie up with Biocon Academy to have certain institutes within Bangalore. It is slightly outside of the scope of this discussion. We can do all this little later. You know whom to contact. We are saying by meetings. Your name is Nuthana. What would you recommend students to highlight? Yes, we have already answered that. Biotech domain, yes, we have answered that. Skills fresher biotech graduates need the most. Fresher graduates, certainly your degree or postgrad is very good template. Along with that template, I would like you to add micro credentials. You have to understand what is your strength. Based on the strength, find out the department. Based on the department, download job descriptions. Find out what is that they are asking in the job description. Based on that, do a certification program, add it to your CV. That becomes the answer to your question. I think pretty much we have answered everything. Sir, how do we choose the right career path in biotechnology? R&D QC. If you would have listened to my conversation in the last slide, I really don't want to repeat the last two slides. That last two slides conversation is the exact answer for how to choose your career path. Oops, it's going fast. Do you think good? Go with MSc Biotechnology or a specific field? Since you're talking about MSc, I am a person who always believes that in a BSc level, it has to be a little more general and open, and in the MSc level, it has to be a little more specific. It has to be a little more technically specific. So you have to decide based on that approach if it works for you. Can you suggest any colleges? Certainly not, is just not in my scope. If there is a gap in education, then the candidate can apply for a job in biopharmaceutical industry. No, I don't understand this question. If there is a gap in education, then the candidates can apply. Yeah, there are two ways. Either you fill in the gap and then apply to the industry, or apply to the industry if you get an opportunity to work in the industry, fill in the gap on the job. When is the next discussion? Says, oh wow, that's a really good question. Who is asking this? Trisha. Trisha, thank you for asking this question. So please stay tuned. Our corporate communication team will what do you call will broadcast the communication in social media and in WhatsApp groups. If you are in any, then you will get to know what is the next schedule. How do you see the scope of cell and gene therapy in next 10 years? 100% yes. Cell and gene therapy is going to play a very, very important role because the personalized medicine is getting attention both in India as well as globally. So gene therapy, cell therapy is going to gain attention for sure in India and globally. But sir, QC analytical course provided by Biocon Academy does not include pharmaceutical. Yes, it does not. Every time when we are putting the educational qualification together, we are seeing what is the most sought out educational qualification by the industry. Based on that only we are putting up. If you are a pharmacy student, it is a good idea for you to go into bioscience program. Bioscience program is one program which addresses all the 5, 6 departments I spoke about, and then you can choose to join any one department when you specialize in that. As you mentioned, companies are asking for 1 year experience most of the times. In case, what is the solution? The solution is internship. If you can do a couple of internship and then approach the companies, that way you are not a fresher, you are a trained fresher. That is one thing you can do. Thank you very much. The session will help me a lot. Thank you, Abhishek Kumar. I have a PhD in pharmacy, B Pharm in Pharm Micro. I am a HOD in pharmacy college. I am having. It depends on how long you have been in the college. Since you are saying HOD, I am assuming you are more than 10 years in that. You can apply and see. I'm not the competent person to respond to that. Uh, Okay. Is there any fixed days and time for next webinar? Yes. Every month we are going to do this webinar, and we are going to kind of alternate between the technical and the professional skills. And in some of the webinars, we are going to talk together also. We are going to have a conversation which you can listen and post questions around it. And then you have bioinformatics and clinical research. Which one best performer in the upcoming future? How can you keep bioinformatics and clinical research separate? When I say CRO, contract research organizations, which includes some of the developmental work using the bioinformatic tools, whether it is BLAST or whatever, qPCR, not qPCR, QSAR techniques. These are all interrelated to each other. Without one, other cannot work. So both are best performance in the upcoming future, particularly in the light of strong growth in the clinical research segment. I need to focus. Sir, what are all the sectors I need to focus? This is exactly what we have been discussing. So I would like you to check your notes for what are the sectors that will align to the pharmacy requirement. Thank you, sir. Insightful session, very helpful and motivating. Kavita, not Kavita, Kavya. Thank you, Kavya. Any other questions? Anybody from Biocon Academy? Yeah, am I missing any question? Could you point it out? So walk-in is not coming under the scope of Biocon Academy. It is coming under the scope of HR department of Biocon Group of Companies. We are CSR arm of Biocon Limited. We are confining ourselves only into training and development or training and skill development. So I cannot answer that question. Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure to attend your webinar. Thank you, Darshan. Thank you very much. 2 more minutes are there if you have any questions. What may be the changed scenario with the AI? Of course, nothing has changed. Have you seen any change the way we operate in the last 10 years? Artificial intelligence is introduced in 1951. Nothing has changed, right? Everybody is doing their business as usual. Only thing is those who have learned Python, advanced Python, and programming knowledge, programming no, languages, they are getting more jobs. So that will continue. And if you are a biotechnologist or a biologist who would like to enter into the AI segment, it's a good idea to equip yourself, skill yourself with the programming knowledges, understand what are the use cases in pharma and biopharma. Yes, that's what you have to do. QSAR area is already a predictive one, right? QSAR is already a predictive tool. It is not an absolute tool, right? It has a clear, you have to do the in vitro study to correlate the QSAR outcome between the QSR in silico study and QSR in vitro study. So that is really not a great idea to leave it to AI. So you have to have a prediction churned from AI and then validate it with your in vitro studies. Biplab, doctor. All right. It's 6:30. So thank you very much for all you have attended. It's been pleasure talking to you. 1 minute. Where is my yes. It was pleasure interacting with all of you. Have a very nice rest of the evening, and I really look forward to meeting you all in the next session too. Bye to all of you.